Hey everybody, it's Julie at Love's Beginning, and what I have to talk about today is the idea of being carried back in the light as the light, and it's about the return home, the letting go of what was never true, um, the allowing it to happen more than the doing it. So that was the first thing I was told. You don't do the awakening. You allow it to be done, and that sounds very passive. And to the ego doesn't tend to like passive, and because the when I believe in the egoic identity, there's this idea that it knows things and it has something to do and it needs to accomplish objectives. So when we're talking about you don't do the awakening, you allow it to be done, it's this idea of something being done to you, but that can be replaced with something being done for you because you allowed it. The only way that it can seem to be done is because I allow it, and it's being undone. What I thought I did in making a world of conflict and strife is being undone, thought by thought by thought, and it's something that I allow. It's allowed. So when you're traveling backwards through a particularly dense layer of egoic thinking, it's like we realize that it's time to wake up, and it's like we turn around and we walk backwards through all of our lies, all of our layers of lies. So when we're going back through a particularly thick layer of egoic thinking, it can feel like traveling through an asteroid belt, and um, it can feel thick and dangerous and confusing and intense. And I think a lot of people are going through this right now, and they may think it's for one particular reason or another when they look at the world or when they look at their life stories, but really we're all doing this together, and we're all coming back to like the Beatles song, get back to where you once belonged. That's what we're doing, that's what we're allowing to be done. And it can feel dangerous. It can feel like all this stuff flying around, and it can be very, very distracting in terms of our feeling of the flow in our daily life. And so, what I'm told about that is just that there's so much support for us, and that we're being carried and we're being held. And even though it looks to us like it's a dangerous situation, with all this thought debris, belief debris flying around, it actually isn't. It's We're held in safety and we're held in love the whole time. What gets emphasized to me as we're going backwards through all the thoughts we attach to, and learning how to detach from all those thoughts and beliefs, is that any thought, this always it gets me, it's very intriguing to me. I like to look at it. Any thought about an ideal in form, like the ideal house, the ideal body, the ideal job, the ideal relationship, um, the ideal life, is a thought that attacks your peace or my peace. And so I'm catching that more and more, is just going backwards through all the thinking and encountering all this thinking, and realizing all of those thoughts, I thought they were so innocent before, but they actively attack my peace. They contradict the reality of the identity we all are. So it's very, it feels very good and very helpful to see the disturbing quality of any thought about any ideal. And any thought about any ideal is going to be seen if I'm looking at assertions about how the world should change, or assertions about how the world should be improved. That's rooted in that ideal of the form thinking. And if I seem to be encountering it out in the world, it's just reflecting back to me what's present in my mind, and it's showing me the opportunity to let it go. So this idea of the positive and letting go of all that we think is positive or wanted or preferred. What's left when that's gone is just what's real. And thank goodness, the only thing that is real is love, is unity, is that safety. So it's like this process of allowing everything to be stripped down, peeled back, taken away, cleaned out. Almost like you hired an organizer or deep cleaning service. It's a service though, but we can fight it on the way back. So if we go back to the idea of asteroid belts of thoughts, and it seems like all these rocks, these thoughts are flying around, and we might get hit by one of them. So we're carried back through ego's asteroid belts of fear in the light and as the light. And so what I was asked is, does an asteroid harm the light? And then I realized, when you realize and you're willing to be shown your true identity and everybody's true identity, what could possibly be harmful? Yes, you can think about many things in form, no problem. But really, really, not harmful to a body, not harmful in a story. What could possibly be harmful? What asteroid could harm the light? What does it do? It just passes right through the light. And then the next question was, is the asteroid real? No. The asteroids are imagined. The asteroids are egoic thoughts. Ego isn't real. Egoic thoughts aren't real. And yet we seem to be having this experience. So it's just the dismantling of all that is unreal, and the gratitude for that in the landscape of what seems to be going on around us and in my life. I have friends who have opinions about government and changes that seem to have happened, um, and feeling intensities, either positive or negative intensities about this. And part of this, seeing all the thoughts, seeing the light shining through all the thoughts, I can see, oh, there's no difference between the thoughts that this friend seems to be believing and the thoughts that this friend seems to be believing. And I can't go too far with that because it's not my business to judge them, but it's a useful teaching device to see two things that seem to be different and realize, oh, they're the same, and then to be able to bring that home and have the gratitude for that, and see then now my own thoughts and opinions. I have a positive one, I have a negative one. Oh, they're the same. Because if I have a positive one, I'm attached to an outcome. I'm rigid about how I want things to be. I'm not flexible. I'm not just going to sit and appreciate. I am going to try to control things to my liking. And there comes that tension and that rigidity and that stress. So I'm learning to say no, thank you. I'm learning to realize that the stress certainly isn't preferred. It's not what I want. I'm learning to notice when it seems like the egoic identity is what I want, and I'm learning that it's like a bad shoe. It doesn't fit, it'll never fit, and it will never feel good. So I'm happy to just let it go. Then mantras were mentioned to me, and I was told that mantra is a temporary tool that you use on your way back. And I've heard people say before, mantras don't work or don't get stuck on mantras. But in my personal experience, that has been very helpful for me to have some statement that I make my statement of the day and that I go back to when I can see my perception has become warped and I'm feeling off. I'll go back to that statement. What's mine today? I usually use the the lessons from A Course in Miracles. So mine today is I do not know what is in, or I do not perceive what is in my own best interest. I love that one because it's so dismantling. The first lessons in A Course in Miracles, I don't know what number this one is, it's toward the beginning. They're so dismantling. They strip everything down. So any statement to you that speaks of truth and can help bring you back to a still place a place where you're not attached to stories. That can be very helpful. And if you've ever been told, no, don't use mantras, you'll get stuck on them, their rigidity, well, everything we make gets used, and that can get used too. So what I was told about mantras today is spirit was shown to me like a dog nose. You know how a dog will nudge its nose in there and try to get a treat or a pet or something. So what I was being told is spirit is very insistent, and spirit's insistent dog nose is going to nudge through the mantra to supply you with more specific thoughts. So if I need to be told something about what to say or where to go or what to do or anything at all, you know, I'll be told that spirit can get through a mantra more easily than spirit can get through my attachment to thinking I know things, thinking I know how something should be, or a litany of complaints. It's harder. I'm not listening then. The mantra is more like a symbol of willingness and a symbol of listening, and spirit can get through that. And they gave me the image. The mantra is like a gossamer curtain. It's not hard at all to nudge that aside. So I'm still using them, and I find them very, very grounding, very centering, very good reminders. And they're no hindrance to spirit. And I'm very, very grateful for every tool we can use on the way back. So I don't know if anything has felt like the asteroid belt to you. Um, it was funny how it came up that way. Also, confusion. And I think my post today, or was it yesterday? Honestly, when I post on the blog, I forget almost immediately what it was. And then somebody will be talking to me, and I have to go sometimes look back at it or remember or ask them to tell me what it said. But one of the last two posts, I think, had to deal was about confusion, because that's another thing I was experiencing, is this sense of something's different. Something feels very confusing. I'm having a hard time focusing. And it's like every time we go through a layer, we come into this new openness, and we're not used to it. We're used to being rooted in our opinions and our rigidity, and it can feel like unrootedness for a while, and then we trust it, and then spirit says, okay, now let's go clean out this other closet you haven't done yet. So grateful for all of that. Grateful that awakening is done for us rather than by us separately, because separately we aren't, but together we are. And that's the real thing. So, wishing everybody well. And thanks for listening.